Hey my friends, how's it going? It's Ultimus, and for today's video, we're going to be talking about and going over the Arms Warrior talent changes, both to Arms Warrior Standard and Honor talents. So we're going to be addressing both of those today. Just addressing the changes and my thoughts on it. I will, however, before we get started, I'm going to make an honorable mention for today's video because of this. One thing I noticed while goofing around a little bit on the PTR was if you'll check out the rewards here on this particular PvP world quest for the Warden Tower Assault, Night Watcher's Perch, not only do you get your 300 honor as a reward, but now they're going to be handing out marks of honor as a reward for PvP world quests. Now, I don't remember reading anything about this as far as them having plans of doing this. I know they mentioned that they eventually wanted to include this in the game. It was something that they mentioned throughout the talk leading up to Legion and future patches, but I hadn't seen anything recently indicating that this was going to be the patch that they were going to add it. If it was there, it's just something I overlooked and missed. But I do have to say it's kind of nice to see a little bit of a different reward system or more options for rewards for the PvP world quests, aside from just resources, gold, and the occasional piece of gear that you don't need because it's way under leveled for you or just not the right stats. Marks of honor, at least to me, are extremely useful because that's transmog gear for me. So big deal to me, as well as purchasing old PvP gear as that comes out, because they did mention that the Elite Season PvP gear will be purchasable for marks of honor for people who have earned it. Again, achieving the appropriate rating post PvP season. So whether or not that means the regular Gladiator gear will be obtainable, I would imagine so, but I don't have any sources on that one way or the other. So all that to say, that is a thing that's going to be coming. Marks of honor attached to PvP world quests. Really, really cool. Wanted to get out there, that out there before we jumped into the video. So, at the moment, I have the Arms Warrior talents that are currently in patch 7.1 next to me here on my second monitor, just so I can make sure that I'm looking at those, have those ready and accessible so I can compare. And then, of course, over here on the main screen that you guys are seeing in said video, we're going to have the new talents here. This is all on the World of Warcraft PTR 7.1.5. And so let's go ahead and just take a look at it. For the most part, the standard warrior tree remains unchanged. And by I mean for the most part, I mean pretty much as a whole. Dauntless remains the same. Overpower is still the same. Sweeping Strikes is still there. Still affects only Mortal Strike and Execute. Double Time, Shockwave, Stormbolt, still in the same tier tree. Fervor of Battle, still the same. Rend, unfortunately, still a useless talent choice. Avatar, still there, same effect. Second Wind, Bounding Stride, Defensive Stance. In for the Kill remains basically the same. Maybe it's buffed up to 30 if I'm not mistaken. Up from 20 Rage that's refunded. Mortal Combo remains the same. Focused Rage, believe, is basically the same. Yeah, same. Deadly Calm, same. Trauma, Titanic Might, Anger Management, Opportunity Strikes, and Ravager. Now, all those pretty much exactly the same. The big changes are the PvP talents. Now, as with anything that goes, without saying, but I will say it because people need to be reminded, and even sometimes I need to be reminded, that all of this stuff is tentative and currently still in testing, and it is PTR, so all of this could literally change tomorrow. We might even see changes to the Arms Warrior standard tree. I will say that here in this video, I'm not going to talk about Prot or Fury. I just don't play them enough. I goof around with them a little bit here and there. I haven't even really put any artifact power into either of my weapons. I've just been focusing mostly on arms. It is my favorite spec out of the three, so it's pretty much where I play. So, big changes coming to the Arms Warrior PvP tree, especially the farther down you get, mostly. Gladiator's Medallion remains unchanged. Adaptation pretty much looks exactly the same, and Relentless. 5 seconds. Can we see? I need to see. over here before I make any definitive yes and no. 5 seconds or more. Yeah, so adaptation is exactly the same. Relentless is pretty much the same. So yeah, cool. Hardiness, reinforced armor, and sparring are the same. Death row is there. Now this is interesting that blood hunt has been removed, and we are looking at disarm coming back. Now out of all the changes being made to Arms Warrior PvP talents, this is probably the one I was the most excited to see coming back. I missed it as a utility, as a defensive cooldown, as a form of crowd control, or just a way to control a match. When they removed it in WoD, I was willing to give it a chance. Again, like most other things, changes, I do okay with change. I'm willing to just see how it plays out, see what it goes. I'm not... I'll be honest if I'm happy with the change or not, but I'm always willing to give it a go. I didn't really like not having disarm. I like disarm as a mechanic. And as of right now, I'm pretty sure it's just warriors getting back, and that's even cooler to me, not just because I'm selfish and I'm a warrior, so screw every other class. It makes it very unique to arms. It makes it one thing that arms can do that other classes can't. Now, I don't know if other classes and specs are getting disarm as a mechanic back. If they are, please do let me know in the comment section. I would be very curious to hear about that. But as far as I know, arms is the only class and spec getting disarm back, which again I think is great because it gives arms just a little bit of a niche utility in PvP that I think we're lacking. So if I can shut down someone's big burst because they don't have a weapon anymore, great. So stuff like that, because what I will be curious on, and I would imagine it's going to function like this, is if you have someone disarmed, they cannot use their artifact activate ability, right? So if someone disarms me, I can't use Warbreaker. I mean, it would only make sense, right? I have Warbreaker disarmed for 8 seconds. I can't use my artifact weapon ability because my weapon's missing. Whether 8 seconds is long enough or too long, I think it actually might be a little too long in my opinion. I could see it being dropped down to maybe 5 seconds and being okay, but I'm not going to complain either because this is big utility and 8 seconds is a very big deal. Like, again, against another arms warrior, I could pop disarm, completely shut down their battle cry. So that's a big deal. And that is one thing I'm trying to keep in mind too, and I think a lot of people miss when it comes to player changes for their class. They're super excited and they don't want anything to get nerfed, and it's like, oh man, I just want all these really crazy cool stuff to happen with my class, and because everyone wants to be OP, right? The thing that I think everyone has to keep in mind too, not to get on a soapbox or anything, but I think a lot of players miss is that every other arms warrior is going to have this talent, right? So that means every other arms warrior is going to be able to disarm you, which means every other arms warrior, if they're smart, is going to be able to shut down your burst just as easily as you can shut down theirs. So as exciting as it is to have a skill that might feel really OP, it's not going to feel so great when it gets used on you. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So either way, really happy to see disarm back as a mechanic. Whether or not the cooldown or the effect of the ability changes or remains unchanged, that's yet to be seen, but overall in general, very happy to see it back. And then we do have Death Sentence, which is still in the game and unchanged, and as of right now, this has actually been my PvP talent of choice, has been Death Sentence. It's really cool mechanically. It's a little gimmicky when you're like rooted and can't get to someone and it just range executes them anyways, but it has gotten me out of a couple sticky situations, and it's actually gotten me a couple really good wins, so we'll see. But I can definitely see myself taking Disarm over Death Sentence, depending on the comp you're playing in arenas, for sure. And again, Disarm will, my choice of using Disarm will rely heavily on whether or not disarming will disable artifact weapon effects and abilities. So that's a big deal. Rage Machine is still pretty much the same. Non-periodic effects or attacks against you generate 5 rage. Spell Reflection still there. Master and Commander. Now this is a big one because at the moment, Commanding Shout has a 3-minute cooldown, which increases, the health of all raid or party members within 30 yards by 15% for 10 seconds. Which is, it's a good cooldown. It's a very good raid-wide and party-wide utility cooldown. I still call it rallying cry by slip of the tongue, but battle or commanding shout rather can really save games as a cooldown. It's a great defensive cooldown. It's definitely like your last. The one cooldown you really want to hold off on using as an arms warrior when you're in a PvP situation, because it doesn't just affect you. You can use it to save other people. So it's not something you just spam and use. With Master and Commander, the cooldown being reduced by 2 minutes is huge. That puts it on a 1 minute cooldown. Buffing people's health by 15% every minute is got some good utility to have. Like that greatly reduces kill windows against you and your team. I know that's like the obvious, like, no duh, but that really is a big deal in arenas. Those kill windows are huge, and so if you can pop that every minute to save your healer a little bit, to kind of take the pressure off them a little bit, that's a very big deal. So whether or not this stays that strong, we'll see. I don't know. I could almost see that taking the place of Spell Reflection. Like, I really like Spell Reflection, and it tends to be my go-to talent of choice, mostly because I don't play a lot of high rated arenas. Like, by a lot, I mean really not at all. But I know a lot of high rated warriors will take Ready for Battle, which allows your charge to also function as intercept, which gives it a little bit of utility. But Master and Commander could be a very big deal and could be a very big game changer. Pain Train, it pretty much remains exactly the same. Reduces the cooldown of Battle Cry by 15 seconds, and Battle Cry now also affects all nearby allies within 10 yards. This is my current go-to PvP talent that I am currently using on live. War Banner, however, is a big deal. We're going to talk about that a little bit. It's on a 1.5 minute cooldown. Again, we're back to the banners again, which, as a mop mechanic, I actually really liked. Not just because you could charge to them, but it was a cool thing that warriors could do. Now, increases the movement speed, or basically you throw the banner down at your feet, rallying all your allies. Sorry, I had a spider crawling on my arm there that I was trying to play off, but I just couldn't do it. It was too creepy. Increases the movement speed by 30% and reduces the duration of all incoming crowd control effects by 50% to all allies within 0 yards. That's a bug. Of the War Banner, lasts 15 seconds. So again, utility, not a damage buff, nothing like that, nothing like demoralizing banner or anything like that we saw in Mop. But this is a big deal on a 1.5 minute cooldown. Movement speed increased by 30%, crowd control effects reduced by 50%. Huge. Like this is one of those talents that could single-handedly change a game on the drop of a dime. Like, that kind of stuff isn't anything to scoff at. That's a big deal. I really, as of right now, think this will potentially be the best in slot talent for ARMS, especially in arenas. BGs, maybe Pain Train still, really, especially if you're going for those big pushes on the flag cap and stuff like that. But for arenas, the utility of War Banner is second to none as far as I'm concerned. Duel, however, is a very interesting mechanic, and I do see it having its place. I could really see Duel shining in 2s, and I could also see Duel shining really heavily when you're playing against comps where you need a heavy peel. Or depending on what you're playing with. If you're playing with a Resto Shaman or something like that that requires some really heavy peels, Duel is going to be a big deal, I think. It's a 25-second cooldown, instant cast, 20-yard range, and again, what it states is that you challenge the target to a duel. While challenged, all damage you and the target deal to all targets other than each other is reduced by 50%. So there is a drawback to it, which is fair. But it lasts 8 seconds, and it forces that target to attack you. It's basically a PvP taunt, essentially, is what it is. It's a PvP taunt. It's the actual first iterations, successfully thought out and iterated into the game version of a taunt in PvP, which to me is, like, crazy. Like, this is kind of a cool thing to see. It feels like one of those talents that really is like, here's the box, right? This is the talent. It's like way outside the box over here. At least to me. Maybe it's because I'm getting old, but to me, it's one of those talents that's like, I don't know if I'll use it. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but it's cool conceptually. And so to see this kind of stuff put in game, I think is really cool. I'm definitely going to be trying it out, seeing what it looks like, what it feels like. But this could be one of those talents that gives you some really good instant peels for your healer or someone that's about to die in a situation, especially on the big damage dealer of the enemy team. So be really curious to see what comes out on top. I still think for the utility, War Banner will be your best in slot talent, but depending on what you're coming up against, Duo will be a lifesaver for sure. Now. Big changes here in our final one. As you'll notice, Echo Slam is completely gone. I'm a little bit sad to see that go. I did like Echo Slam conceptually as a talent. I didn't like that it has been nerfed a little bit. By a little bit, I mean a lot, really. But, you know, it is what it is. We now have Storm of Destruction coming in. Shadow of the Colossus remains, and Sharpened Blade has been tweaked quite a bit. Storm of Destruction is, again, one of those things I really actually like conceptually. It sounds really cool. It reduces the cooldown of Blade Storm by 50%. So Blade Storm would now be on, what, a 75-second cooldown? Pretty sure. Minute and a half. 50%. 75%. 75 seconds. Dope. I think I can math. But it also applies Mortal Wounds to all targets you hit, which, if you are unfamiliar what Mortal Wound is, let me inform you. Basically, it is the Mortal Strike effect that reduces the healing done to the target for 10 seconds, attached to Blade Storm. What the butts? Okay, so obviously the application of this is immediate in Battlegrounds. It's just a mess. Everyone's stacked up on top of each other. You're doing tons of damage. You're just cleaving kids down, making them wish they never hit that enter battle button, right? And this is going to make that even greater. AoE Mortal Strike is insane, especially on Bladestorm again now, especially if Bladestorm does continue doing a good amount of damage, which it does if you have your cooldowns up. If you've got Battlecry going, Avatar going, Bladestorm wrecks. And of course, just having the utility of busting out of crowd control effects on a 75-second cooldown, always wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So we'll see. I could also see this. I'm not trying to discredit this also in arenas either. I think the immediate, again, the immediate obvious application is Battlegrounds. But when you're fighting melee heavy cleaves in arenas, and you know, we're looking at TSG, you're looking at Turbo Cleave, you're looking at Ret Rogue, stuff like that, Warrior Demon Hunter, all of those cleaves that are, you have people stacked up. Storm of Destruction is going to be a big deal. This is kind of an interesting counter to me, at least, to Holy Paladins. Kind of with how Holy Paladin Mastery works, where they do more healing based on how close they are to the target. Again, this is one of those things that could be a little bit of back and forth, ebb and flow on PvP, because again, the Holy Paladin wants to be up in the fight because they're going to do more healing, but they don't want to get hit by that Storm of Destruction, because if you got all three targets on an arena match taking, you know, reduced healing, that is going to be hard for the Holy Paladin to keep them alive. Now, I know it's a very niche situation, but it is interesting. And I don't know if people have really thought about it like that, and I'm kind of more or less trying to think outside the box on some of the stuff. I do like to, and I am a fan of challenging the meta, personally. Either way, very excited to see it. I think it's a cool concept. And it's one of those things I've kind of thought about and wondered if we'll ever see something like this in the game. And there it is. Much like how I said back in the day, I would love to see Bladestorm as a baseline talent for Arms Warrior, and I got tweeted back by Lore saying it probably would never happen, but it is. So ha, Ultimus wins. JK Lore, I love you, even though you'll never watch this video. Shadow of the Colossus remains the same. Charge resets the cooldown of your Colossus Smash and Rage. Gained from charge increased by 15, so good stuff. Again, like that, again, the cooldown being reset of Colossus Smash, big deal. Especially in lieu with Double Time, great talent combination in PvP, perfect. Especially if you're finding it hard to get those Colossus Smash procs. However, Sharpened Blade has been reduced from a big ol' fatty 45-second cooldown down to a measly 25-second cooldown, okay? Huge, because I feel like half of the time, alright, my battle cry comes back up off cooldown in roughly 30 to 40 seconds because of how all my talents are working and stuff like that, right? It's not on a long cooldown as it is already. So we got, you know, we got Pain Train over there. It's already on a 45-second cooldown. It comes up even quicker. This is on a 25-second cooldown now. So you're going to shave off a good 15-20 seconds off of Battlecry's cooldown with how much rage you're pumping into your abilities as an arms warrior. So the fact that Sharpened Blade is on a shorter cooldown, lining up better with your Battlecry cooldowns is a big deal, because Mortal Strike already does hit like a truck, especially if you're running with the Focused Rage PvP build, which has been making a little bit of a comeback. This could do a lot of damage really, really quickly. So we'll see. I could see this getting changed a little bit and the cooldown being bumped up to maybe 30 seconds. I mean, the cooldown reduction on it is the big appeal. Like, other than that, it stays pretty much the same. 45-second cooldown. That feels a little bit long, but I don't know. 25 seconds almost feels too short. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know. This does, I feel like, tend to be the go-to PvP talent, at least for me. I like playing with Sharpened Blade a lot. Learning how to line it up better with your big old Mortal Strikes and Colossus Smashes yields some very satisfying results. So, again, everything pretty much stays the same, but the cooldown changing is a big deal, enough to make it very appealing for people that might have been hesitant to use it or didn't necessarily like it as a talent. It might be your best in slot go-to talent, depending on how everything goes. But as of right now, if I were to pick like the most fun PvP spec for me, whether or not it's going to be best in slot, but most fun would probably look something like this. Like, again, we're looking at Gladiator's Medallion, obviously, because I don't want to mess with adaptation, and I don't really care for Relentless. I'd rather have on-demand control of when I break my CC. Just flat-out health increased by 10%. If I'm fighting melee cleaves, I tend to go heavy on sparring. Hardiness, depending on who my healer is, I'll go with that. If I feel like I'm playing with a healer, that's going to be able to keep me capped off a lot. But that's not always the case, and it's not always easy to do. So reinforced armor tends to be my go-to one. Disarm, because I just love it mechanically. Spell Reflection, because who doesn't love reflecting a big old fatty Chaos Bolt, Pyroblast, or Ebon Bolt, or whatever it's called. The giant glacial spike. War Banner, love the utility of it. And then Storm of Destruction, because I love the Mortal Strike effect applied to Bladestorm. So other than that, everything's staying more or less the same. I will talk about abilities for a little bit, some stuff that was interesting. Supposedly the root for charge is going to be reduced to 1 second. Looks like it's even changed now. So charge to an enemy, reducing its movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. That is interesting. Let's check some stuff out really quick. Hold on a second. So currently, pretty sure that charge does root the target, but as of right now on the PTR, it reduces the movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. Not a big fan of that. I really like the root. Quite frankly, I miss the flat-out stun from charge. But having the root gone is even sadder, personally. So I'm not too happy about that. Hamstring is still on the global cooldown. So that is quite unfortunate, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, still on the global cooldown. But yeah, other than that, everything looks fairly similar. Really hoping to see a revert on the charge change. But overall, talent's looking very interesting. Kind of cool to see Arms getting some attention and some love. Everyone else is kind of crying. Fury Warriors are really upset, which is, I suppose, understandable. But Arms definitely needed a look at. I hope Fury does get some attention as well, because mechanically I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world to take 20% extra damage, 30% extra damage or whatever when you pop your cooldowns. The concept is nice, but survivability isn't quite there. So we'll see what happens with Fury. It doesn't look like it's getting too much attention this coming patch, which again is quite unfortunate. But as an Arms warrior, I can speak and say I'm actually pretty excited to see the changes coming. And I'm looking forward to getting my hands on them in live and seeing how they play out. I might goof around on the PTR a little bit. I'm typically not the kind of person that plays on the PTR too much, just because I'd rather put my time into my live account personally. But I did want to make this video going over some of the changes because I thought they were worth talking about. But, as always, that is going to do it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, share your thoughts on what's going on with Arms Warriors. Do you like the changes? Do you not? You happy to see Disarm back? What do you think of the new Bladestorm talent? All that crazy stuff. I want to know what you think, whether you're an Arms Warrior or not. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video or found it informative, helpful, or even slightly entertaining. And I'll catch you next time.